Just call it to order.
It doesn't happen.
Call the meeting to order. Please rise for pledge of allegiance.
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Chairman Michael.
Here.
Judy O'Donnell. Here. Steve Balich.
Here.
Ray Tumanillo.
Here.
Lori Summers.
Here.
Denise Winfrey.
Here.
Mark Fairley.
Here. I couldn't hear you.
Okay, we have a quorum. We have minutes from August 3rd. We have a motion. Motion. Second.
Second.
Any additions or corrections? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We have minutes from August 8th. We have a motion. Motion. Second. Any additions or corrections? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. New business. We have a special use permit extension. Brian?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Omar Benitez received a special use permit in April of 2016 for outdoor storage and had 3 conditions. He operates a landscape business on his property, and he's having trouble getting an access permit from IDOT. So until he gets that permit, he can't put this special use into use. And we'll need an extension of the 6 months to keep the special use going. And there is an additional option for 1 more 6-month extension if he's still having trouble getting his permit. But there's no holdups with staff. It's all related to getting the interest permit from IDOT. This request was originally approved unanimously by the county board.
Thank you. Any questions, Mike?
Move.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any objectors to this? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Other business, building division update, Mike?
Good morning, Chairman Weigel, members of the committee. I wanted to take this opportunity to discuss with the committee some ongoing initiatives with the building department, and then discuss some procedural changes that have taken place over the past year. First, in 2016, the department did an analysis of what we call open and expired building permits. These are building permits that were issued by the building department, and there was never follow-up. Final inspections were not called in, the permit was never renewed, so it sat open, expired, and generally speaking, the work was all complete. Doing this analysis, we determined there was approximately 3,500 open building permits. Now, the vast majority of these open expired permits ranged from 2010 to 2015. There were some prior to 2010, going back as far as 1998, 1999. Looking at this problem, we had to develop an approach to address it. The first thing was look at how do we prevent the additional accumulation of open and expired permits. So utilizing the new permit system that the department adopted last year, we're now able to track permits. We're able to send notices out to permit holders before their permit expires, informing them that their permit will be expiring by this date, that they must schedule the necessary inspections or renew their permit, extend their permit. The second thing we began doing is we looked at permits that are what we'll call simple permits, roofing, windows, siding. And we began asking contractors and homeowners to schedule the final inspection before we would issue them the permit. So when the permit's being issued to the homeowner or the contractor, they have to inform us when the work will be complete and get that inspection scheduled. If they don't know when the work will be complete, we automatically assign them an inspection date 6 months out. And that's to prevent those permits a year from now joining the other 3,500 permits that are sitting open. So, implementing those 2 measures, I think that moving forward, we have a better grasp on permits being issued and staying up to date with those permits, making sure they're being closed out. But we still had that problem with those legacy permits, the 3,500 permits sitting there open and expired. So what we began doing is utilizing staff, we're sending out notices to the property owners to have those permits, informing them that the permits are open, that final inspections were never completed, and that they need to schedule those inspections. If they do not schedule those inspections, we record a notice of violation on the property deed. Now, this notice of violation serves really one purpose. It's public notice. If those homeowners go to sell their property, now during the title search, the title company finds that notice of violation, and the prospective buyer knows, hey, there's open permits on this property that were never closed out, never inspected. We still allow for property to be transferred with that violation in place on the deed. In order to transfer the property, we have to ensure that the prospective buyer has been made aware of the violation, and that buyer executes an affidavit with this department acknowledging that once they become the owner, it is now their responsibility and their problem to address. So that's in regards to open and expired permits. It's going to take quite some time to go through 3,500 permits, but we're making good progress. We've gotten through 2010 and through 2011 already, and we're working on 2012 permits. It's important to know we are not imposing fines. We are not referring the matter to the state's attorney's office, and we are not referring the matter to administrative adjudication. And I would say that 75% of the people we've dealt with so far have cooperated, and those permits have been closed out. The one complaint we get is not that we are sending them a notice or threatening to record a violation on the deed. It's from new owners who are disappointed that we did not have measures in place in the first place so that they knew they were buying a problem. And with this notice of violation that we're recording, that solves that problem. I also want to inform the committee of two procedural changes within the building department. Historically, the land use department has always performed the commercial plan reviews for commercial building permits. In March of 2016, our commercial plans examiner position became vacant. That person resigned to take a job in a different jurisdiction. We did a cost-benefit analysis of that position, and it was determined that we could save approximately $83,000 a year by not replacing that position. Instead, what we do is when commercial permit applicants apply for a permit, we give them an option of 3 different third-party plan review services to select to perform the plan review. And per our adopted fee schedule, the applicant is responsible for paying those plan review fees. So we're a little bit over a year of doing that. Commercial permit applicants have not minded the process. They have not complained about the third-party fees, and we've seen a cost savings by not filling that position. Just like the commercial plans examiner, the department historically performed their own plumbing inspections. Plumbing inspections have to be performed per state law by a licensed plumbing contractor or a licensed plumbing inspector. In December of 2016, through attrition, the plumbing inspector's position was vacated, the land use department. Again, we did a cost-benefit analysis of that position, determined that we could realize a cost savings of approximately $40,000 by not replacing that position and utilizing a third-party inspection service. Now, that cost savings is seen, but we're still paying the third party out of the county's budget to perform those inspections. The third party does it at a cheaper rate. That third party, on average, per inspection, charges $88. Our average dollar cost with the county employee doing this inspection was $179. So we're continuing that process. It's important to note, in the past, we have, coming forward to the county board requesting new hires for building inspectors, said it's cheaper to use a building inspector as staff than to go out to a third party. And that's still the case. There's an economies of scale. Our building inspectors are performing right now anywhere to 16 to 20 inspections a day. If we had a third party doing those building inspections, it would cost us more at that volume. Our plumbing inspections average maybe 5 every other day. So that's why we can see that savings, is because the workload just is not there to warrant full-time staff. Finally, I wanted to give an update regarding permit activity for 2017. As of today's date, the department has taken in 2,389 permit applications. This is up 37% from last year. We have issued 2,182 permits. That is up also 37% over last year at this time. And we have performed 4,106 building inspections. Now keep in mind, that's with 2 building inspectors and this third-party plumbing service that we're utilizing. That averages 11.5 inspections per inspector per working day. Looking back over the years, I would say that at one time we were averaging 4.5 inspections per day. So productivity is up, and we're handling those inspections efficiently. And that concludes my report, unless there's questions.
Thank you very much. We have some comments. Steve, you had your...
Yeah, I like what I heard, so thank you, good job.
You're welcome.
Just have a question on that. When you go back 10 years, you said 2010 or 2012 building codes weren't there. When you re-inspect now to close the permit out, do you go with the new codes or the old codes?
We're relying on the old codes. Those
So
permits
what
were
they
issued under
actually
the old
applied
codes.
at the time. That's fair. And then the other thing is, I was going to bring this up later because we're on that topic. I gave everybody a sheet of paper, and I'm asking that our committee start addressing what we need to formalize, removing maintenance items from being forced to get a building permit. In other words, like if you want to replace a door, you need to get a permit because of the 2012 building codes in the energy code section, making sure that it's the proper energy code. Basically, people go to Home Depot and buy a door, and they replace 3 or 4 screws, on one hinge, and there's usually 2 hinges, might be 3 hinges. That's it. Window, something's wrong with their window, so they want to replace it. They go to the store and they buy a window, and then they stick it in. And they don't go get permits. Most people will not get a permit for that stuff. And then they get caught, and then we give them a fine and tell them they should have got a permit. And in reality, that's a maintenance item. As long as they're not changing the structure of the building, they shouldn't be required to get a permit. And that's what I'm asking this committee to do, to address that issue and remove it from our building code ordinances. And I gave Kurt the what I was talking about, and it's something that we need to put on an agenda and have a discussion, because there's other items that might be included in that I can't think of. Like, is it you need a permit for a ceiling fan?
Do you?
Yeah, to replace a ceiling.
You do not need a permit for a ceiling fan as long as the electric that is utilized to power that ceiling fan is in place.
Okay. But I mean, that's the type of thing that I would be asking. I don't want to go crazy and redo the whole code. I'm just looking at something that's a maintenance item, typically what the homeowner or business believes is a maintenance item, that we shouldn't require a permit to replace a door or window. And that's what I'd like to address with this. So I'm asking Tom to put it on the agenda in the right format, and if we have to go to executive, that's fine, whatever it is, but I think that's something that we have to decide if we want to continue doing.
I think we should have staff look at this and bring it back for discussion at our next meeting, what your opinion is of this request. Okay?
Okay.
Judy?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank Mike. I know I was one of those 3,000 plus people who had we had replaced windows in our house, and I was kind of like, really, I'm getting this years later, I forget the exact number of years now. And then he explained what he did. So I want to thank you, Mike, for going in and taking on this new role as you have, for looking at the processes that were in place and making it better, making it so that we can track this, so somebody like me doesn't get a notice. I forgot we had windows put in until I got the thing, because it had been 4, 5, 6 years, I don't know, since we had it. And also, the process was easy. He just, when I spoke with him, we set up a date. He had an inspector named Jenna, never met her because I wasn't home that day, come out, make sure I did have windows in my home, which I do, but you don't
Permit's
know.
closed.
And my permit is now closed, so that's all good. But he made the process easy. But mostly, I want to congratulate you on getting in there, looking at what's going on in that department, and making our processes that we have better, so that we have a situation that's controllable. I know you have a lot to catch up with, and it takes time. But thank you for doing a really good job. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Any other comments?
Yeah, I have one other, I talked earlier with David. Just make it clear to everybody, land use is complaint driven. that they're not going out and driving around the neighborhoods just writing tickets. They can only go to somebody's home and look when there's a complaint. That's why I was talking to you guys about earlier, why I didn't tell you about that issue.
Okay. Go down to the report section. I have no reports. Any other members have comments?
I just in finishing, when I talked with Mike, he asked for permission for Jenna to come on my property, so that was really good. He made sure that I said yes. It wasn't just a conversation between the two of us, because we know each other now well. He treated me just as he would any other property owner and made sure that I knew when she was coming and that there was permission granted for her to be on my property and to make sure my dogs weren't out to chew her up. So he did that really good job. No, I would let the rooster would have been more trouble than the dogs. But I mean, he did ask for my permission, and it's like, well, we know each other. He assumed probably that I would say, of course, but he did still make sure he went through all the steps that he should with any landowner. So, like I said, just a great job, Mike, and thank you.
Right.
Yeah, I did. Actually, while we're in the business of handing out accolades, I just, coming in here, I was glad to see Mike, you sitting there, because in the last few months, there's been quite a bit of activity in my district. And, working with David, yourself, Jenny from code enforcement, no matter how small the issue looks, on paper, maybe to us who have seen bigger and better issues over the years, it's very important to those homeowners. And I want to say that you and your staff have done an outstanding job in communicating a good response for a board member to be able to get back to the resident who feels, that their little issue is a mountain. And just the timely response that I have been given in the last few months on some of these issues that have come up, some of the frustrations that the residents have felt have been eased. And it's very nice to be able to get an email back to them in a timely manner, because they feel like at least somebody's listening.
Right.
So I do want to say thank you very much for everything, and I'm sure the other board members have had similar experiences, but it has been good. Thank you.
Agreed.
Whether it's the cat in the tree or not, you guys have responded. Thank you very much.
What? Oh, how about the beekeepers? We had that one last week.
Director, any comments?
Mr. Chairman, I just want to be sure about the committee's direction here on the item Mr. Balich has brought forward. The direction at this time is for us to simply do what? Could you restate what your expectation is?
I want you to review this request and see what from your perspective, if this is a valid request or if it's something that we should continue to require from your perspective. Is it meaningful or not meaningful that we require permits for these things? Any other comments that you can bring forward in that regard?
I wonder if it might be more helpful to identify what's considered ordinary or usual home maintenance, so that we can say, this is the list of what's considered ordinary maintenance, and then you can determine if you want to add more things to that. Rather than, it seems kind of amorphous now. I'm not sure where they would start.
Denise, I just picked two items that I know are a problem from people that call me. And I know there's probably other things that I haven't thought of that somebody on the committee has already experienced or thinks of. But, frankly, people just think it's okay to go replace a door and a window as long as they're not changing the structure. And in reality, if somebody calls and there's a complaint made, land use goes out there and they write them a ticket. So then they have to pay a permit fee, a permit fine, and a headache. And I'm just saying we don't need to get a permit for that stuff. We shouldn't need to get a permit for that. And I've talked to other people about it on the board, and frankly, some people on our board didn't know you had to get a permit to replace a door or a window. I mean, so it's not something that's common knowledge, and if some of our own board members don't know. What about the poor people and businesses that think that it's okay? So I'm saying we should remedy the problem, just like Mike did You know, he came up and he says, this is what we're doing to fix the problem. Well, I'm saying we have a problem because I'm getting a lot of calls about that stuff. And let's fix it, that's all. And, you know, there may be other items, so, you know, ask around or you think about it. And, I mean, I just think too.
And that's where the list would come in. If you have a list of what's considered ordinary maintenance, then you would know what things that you consider not to be ordinary maintenance.
No,
are on the
I'm
list,
saying
or
things that
which
require
ones.
a permit.
I understand that. If you have a list of what is considered ordinary maintenance by the land use department, then you would know which other items you think should not be on there or should. And I believe, Steve, that if you look at it, we're probably saying the same thing. Let's get clear about what is considered ordinary maintenance and what isn't. Then you can say what needs to be moved over to one column or the other, is all that I'm suggesting.
Right.
Yeah, that would be real helpful, Kurt, if you could do that.
Well, right, I think kind of the work program that's formulating in my mind is you need to receive the feedback of what the current ordinance actually says. There are ordinary repairs that do not require a permit. So we will tell you very explicitly what the current definition of the ordinance is with respect to what constitutes a repair that doesn't need a permit. We'll also go on to enumerate the specific items that you've mentioned about whether they do or do not require a permit. And we'll just sort of lay that out. Then we can then go back and give you a perspective about of those items which currently do require a permit, our professional opinion about why that might have some public benefit. You know, and then you can decide about whether you agree or not that that the public benefit outweighs whatever cost is incurred by an individual, and that's the kind of choices that you always get asked to make. But we'll give you our opinion about what benefits result from requiring a permit for specific types of items, and then you can decide. Now, I will say this, that after you've heard that, and if you then start to feel that there is a need to formulate some type of corrective amendment to the existing ordinance, I am not the expert on board procedure. I'm sure you'll consult counsel. But my general recollection of the matter is that when it's time to actually consider a specific motion, as opposed to the research that you're asking for now, a specific motion for consideration, that generally speaking, it would go to the executive for assignment to the committee before you begin to actively consider the change. But I could be wrong. I just suggest that when we get to that stage, you just make sure that the board established procedures are followed.
Okay. Mike, do you have another comment?
I do not.
Okay. Are there any other comments? Any public comment? If we have a motion to eliminate executive session, motion to adjourn?
Second.
Motion second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Adjourn. Thank you.